This video is for all you third world criminals who are flooding into Europe illegally by pretending to be refugees. You can watch it on the smartphones that you all seem to have with you. It's just to let you know that everybody knows you're mostly able-bodied fighting-age men, thousands of whom are pretending to be children because you don't have a shred of honour, dignity or shame between you. We know that you are not, in fact, refugees at all, but illegal invaders, opportunists and predators, and that your disgusting behaviour is making things much worse for genuine refugees who are not nearly as welcome here anymore, thanks to you. We also know that the American people dodged a bullet recently when they had the good sense to elect a president who will keep you and barbarians like you out of their country. However, having said all that, you won't get any trouble from us here in Europe. You see, we're multicultural. We're afraid to breathe too hard in case it makes us racist. So you can come here and crap all over our values and laugh at us, and we won't say a word. We're so self-consciously, decadently progressive that we've chosen to pretend that all cultures are equal, even backward, uncivilized ones like yours that don't even deserve to share the same planet. We're ashamed of our culture because it's so embarrassingly superior, and we think it needs taking down a peg or two for the sake of equality. And we're hoping that you primitive throwbacks will help us to do that by bringing with you the ugliest aspects of your ugly culture to drag us all down to your level. Well, it's not as if we haven't been there before, about 1,000 years ago. So, for example, if you arrive in Europe married to a child, Denmark and Germany are cool with that. There are now more than 1,000 Muslim men in Germany who are married to children. Isn't that progressive? And recently a court in Denmark ruled that Muslim migrants who are married to children should be allowed to stay together in case it infringes their, you've guessed it, human rights, a term that's been dragged through the gutter so many times on behalf of criminal chancers like you, it's absolutely worthless. Worthless to us, that is, but not to you, because when you commit the crimes that we all know you're going to, the bogus term human rights will be your get-out-of-deportation card. Not only that, if you sexually assault or rape a woman, again, as we know you're going to, our progressive politicians will try their best to make it her fault, as the female mayor of Cologne tried to do after the notorious New Year's Eve mass assault. If you rape a female No Borders activist, her colleagues will pressure her to keep it quiet in case it gives people the wrong idea about violent third world savages like you. And if you find yourself in Austria raping a 10-year-old boy in a swimming pool, relax, your conviction will be overturned on appeal because the judges believe that you might not have known that a 10-year-old boy didn't want to be raped. Yes, our judges in Europe are very progressive. In other words, they're on your side. The police and media, too, will conspire to keep your depravity hidden from the general population until it hits them squarely in the face, as it does now frequently in wide-open Sweden, the rape capital of Europe, thanks to you. Earlier this year, it was reported that nearly half of Sweden's women are afraid to go out on their own after dark because, well, we're not really supposed to say what the reason is, as that would be racist towards the lawless human vermin like you who are assaulting and raping Swedish women and children. Everyone in Sweden is so terrified of being a racist, you can do what you like. You can gang rape a woman in a wheelchair for hours, as happened just recently, and the police will let you go because they're not convinced that she fought back hard enough, what with being paralysed with shock and fear and all. And then, when local people get angry about this, leftists and feminists will organise a demonstration against their racism. You can't lose. If you're wanted for a crime in Sweden, which no doubt you will be, nobody will be able to identify you. The police don't like to issue a description of wanted criminals because it will almost always be somebody who looks like you, and that would paint a truthful picture of mass third world immigration that the Swedish government doesn't want people to see, because then even the docile Swedes might start to realise just how comprehensively they and their country had been betrayed. For this reason, the authorities in Europe generally are far more likely to crack down on their own citizens who publicise your barbaric behaviour than they are to address the behaviour itself. And you don't even have to feel ashamed about any of this, which is just as well, because you wouldn't know how. Whatever depths of depravity you sink to, masturbating in front of women and children, defecating in the street or in a public swimming pool, you really are a classy bunch. You'll never be held to account for it. Somehow we will always contrive to make it our fault. You can even sue the German government if they don't move quickly enough to give you all that free money you came here for. We all know you're unlikely to work for a living because you're so damned ignorant you're unemployable. But we welcome that difference in Europe today. We celebrate diversity. So if you're coming here to Britain, here's a handy multicultural tip. Make sure you bring as many wives as you can. They can all collect benefit. Might as well claim what's wrongfully yours. Although I should point out that if you're coming here from Pakistan because you've heard from your cousins about the rich pickings to be had gang raping English children, you should know that the English police have finally been shamed into addressing this problem against their will. So there is a chance that you will be arrested and end up in prison. But don't worry, you'll find so many like-minded perverts in there with you. It'll be just like being back home in Pakistan, where you belong. Anyway, I hope this little video will be of some help and that perhaps some small dim light bulb in the back of that stunted growth you call a mind will help you understand that behind the sunny multicultural smiles and the positive buzzwords like tolerance and diversity, that you are in fact about as welcome in Europe as an avalanche of toxic medical waste. And that's because you have gone out of your way to make yourselves unwelcome. The measure of you as people, as men, is that the hand of friendship has been offered to you and you have tried to chop it off. A golden opportunity that you don't deserve has been given to you on a plate, but all you can think about is smashing the plate. Freedom and prosperity are yours for the taking, but you're too stupid and downright uncivilized to understand or appreciate it. Instead, you aspire to dominate the ruins of a society that you'd like to destroy. You won't be happy until we're all living in the same kind of repressive, backward, third world sinkhole that you couldn't wait to get out of. How stupid are you? Of all your deeply unpleasant qualities, your arrogance is the most embarrassing to behold. You are the people on this planet with the very least to be arrogant about. You have absolutely nothing to be proud of. Your disgusting misogynistic culture is an insult to civilized people and a stain on humanity, and so are you. Your instincts are crude, ugly, and destructive. You contribute nothing because you have nothing to contribute. All you ever have to offer is moronic violence and phony grievance. You are the eternal aggressor who yet somehow manages to be the eternal victim. That's a neat trick. Well, the good news for us and the bad news for you is that this is all going to end soon, because people have had enough of it now and they've had enough of you. Your greatest error is mistaking European generosity for weakness, because that's the impression that you've been given by the current crop of bedwetters, shysters and crooks who run things here. But they won't be running things for very much longer, because so many people in Europe are now sick to death of you and want you gone. People who welcome immigration and who are happy to live in a genuinely multicultural society of mutual enrichment and mutual respect have realized that your presence here makes that completely impossible, and that as long as you are here, it will remain impossible. So millions of people in Europe who once were tolerant and welcoming of you now don't want you anywhere near them, and especially not anywhere near their children. That's some reputation you've got yourselves there, but nobody can say that you haven't earned it. You and that rancid rape culture of yours 1,000,000 times over. You've blown it, boys. You've blown it big time. You've revealed yourselves to the civilized world. You've shown us exactly who and what you are. And now I'm afraid you'll have to excuse us for despising who and what you are, which is why we will not be dragged down to your level. Some will, of course, because thanks to you there are plenty of angry people in Europe more than willing to take to the streets and deal with you violent scumbags in the only language you seem to understand. But most of us will use our democracy, a civilized concept that you animals wouldn't understand, to remove the treacherous, cowardly politicians who have allowed you to poison our society half to death, and to elect people who would change the law to something resembling sanity, so that it's no longer possible for activist judges to let predatory scum like you remain on European soil for any reason whatsoever. And then you'll find find out how welcome you are when your worthless criminal arses are swiftly deported right back to that moral cesspit that you crawled out of, with or without documentation, never to be allowed back into Europe again, and stuff your goddamned human rights, with all due respect.